One of the things I was working on over the past few months was being a guest editor of a photo book that has now been published. Ivory Press has a series of books called CPhoto, and they asked me to be a guest editor for one of the books. So the idea was for me to come up with an idea, a theme or a topic, and then to fill that with photography, picking artists to work with. And I was interested in the idea of privacy, in the idea of who owns or who controls images, and then what does that mean and what are the results of that. Once you start thinking about it, the idea of privacy is a bit more complicated than you would imagine. There's the idea of surveillance, the idea of giving away pictures, of taking pictures with or without permission, the public, the private. So this is all become observed, as the book is called. It's just been released. And I'm just going to walk you through the book so you get an idea of what this is all about. So here's the introduction. The introduction was, the essay was written by Aaron Schumann. I'm very grateful for his contribution. Plus there's a short introduction, Don't Worry About the Government, by me. And then you get right into the sections of photographs, and it's a very, I want to say, diverse section of photographs, starting out with found photographs from Detroit. You might wonder what this has to do with privacy or observation or surveillance, but then, you know, if you find somebody else's private photographs in the street and you use them or you publish them, then obviously that does something. Even if the photos are trash, you might want to ask what gives you the right to do that, or whether there are any kind of repercussions. And of course this applies equally well to all kinds of found photographs, vernacular photography, the control over images. And this is really what this book is all about. It's about the control over images. So the second part is older, Mary Alpern, Dirty Windows. You might be familiar with that work as well. Photographs of, you know, well, you can see what it is with a camera, some window in New York. You see the time. Work is a little older, but again, surveillance, people engaged in all kinds of activities, sexual mostly, changing of money. This is maybe a more obvious case of what you would consider surveillance. Here's Kurt Kazivil with Public Hiding. Given that so much information is available online now, some people have the power to hide information, mostly governments, but also private individuals in those countries in Europe where they have the power to do that. So you can find these images online, but then you see that there are all these pixelations, all these blurry parts of the image, or something is just deleted. So something is visible online, yet it is invisible at the same time, because we're not allowed to see it. And of course not everybody has the same power to do that with their images. Another aspect of the idea of observing, of course, is the interaction between people online. Here's Jen Davis's project Webcam. Webcams play a somewhat prominent role in this book and their various uses. In this case, there's the acknowledged and direct interaction between two people who are not in the same space, who might or might not know each other well. How much is really being exchanged, how much is played out, how real is that which we see on the web, that which we are presented with online. Another aspect of privacy being the construction of a persona that might be very different than the actual persona. Monica Haller, Riley and His Story, an artist working with somebody else's photographs with that person's consent. Previously private images used for an artistic purpose to make a political statement. As I said, the selection of photographs in this book is very diverse, because I don't think that a focus on any particular aspect, say Google Street View or, I don't know, Facebook or any of that stuff, serves us so well. Instead, I think we have to branch out and think about the general use of photography. And branching out even further, here's Dan Holdsworth, the creation of these abstract-looking images from publicly available scientific data, where effectively our world is turned into these very, very abstract shapes in two-dimensional form. Or TREVOR, PAGLEN. You know, by this stage you start to see similarities between different portfolios. Here's a citizen using training as astronomy style cameras on government installations that are far away, hidden from view. Looking at things that we're not supposed to see. And Willem Popelier, Showroom, very different again. Images from computers and from cameras and computer stores. People photographing themselves, making faces, leaving behind the images in public. Is this sharing of images, or is this just, you know, something that happens because they forgot that you can delete images? What does this say? What are we giving away? These are all different aspects of our new world of images, where pretty much every image or every form of image is available online. An older body of work by Thomas Ruff, Night Vision. Again, this is fairly obvious what this does, and so this investigates the structure of, oops, that's a new book, the power of images created in a very specific way, the use of a particular aesthetic. Aesthetic, of course, plays a role in here too. You already noticed in probably all of the portfolios how the aesthetic of the images generates part of their meaning or their perceived meaning. OSVALDO, SANVITI, Le Soleil Moribond, webcam images, these people making money online, presenting themselves and their bodies, taken it, you know, the unguarded, more unguarded moments, or we get access to somebody's private space. It's all a give and take, essentially. In a very similar vein, this is, you know, the artists are sorted in alphabetical order to make it simple. So there's two of these very similar ones right next to each other. Joachim Schmidt, Cyberspaces. Almost the same situation as before, except now that people are gone. These are the moments that most people, I suppose, are not so interested in, when the models are not there any longer, and you're left with these views of their private spaces, or their stages if you want. I'm just going to go a little faster, make sure I can show you the whole book. Jens Sondheim and Bernhard Reuss. This is a very interesting project, The Traveler. There are all these webcams showing you public locations. So here you have Jens Sondheim going to all these public locations and posing in front of the webcam. Of course, somebody else then has to press the shutter or take a screenshot. So this is taking the idea of observation and playing with it in kind of an obvious way, by placing yourself into the observed frame, making sure that your picture is taken, instead of just being in the frame for whatever reason. Very convincing example of what you can do. And then there are the biographies, and that's the book. So this is Observed by Ivory Press, CPhoto number 6, I believe. Just came out. As I said, it's about observing, it's about privacy, it's about the meaning of images, the right of images, the power of images. Crucially, who has the power? The power usually being controlled by the people who are controlling the making of the images. But even then, the things, the actual aspects are not that clear. And the idea behind this book, behind the selection of work, is to contribute to hopefully a discussion about what images mean and how our ideas of privacy and photography have evolved now that images and cameras are everywhere.